Welcome to Sewing Out Loud, the official podcast of Zede Sewing Studio. Here are your hosts, Zede and Mallory.
Sewing Out Loud. Hello, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Mallory Donahue.
And I'm Zede Donahue.
And Mom and I just got finished, having a very passionate conversation.
Yeah, I hope we can calm down.
About the future of sewing machine dealerships.
Have we ever not had a passionate conversation?
No, we're never like, oh, yeah, we'll just have pizza for dinner.
Yeah.
No, we're like, I
want that. Yeah.
Tacos on it. No, we were just kind of yelling
Actually,
about it.
At the dinner table when the girls were growing up, it was like a contest to see who could hold the floor the longest.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so today we're talking about Dot Sequin. I hope that first 30
That's
seconds.
fabric. Dot Sequin. It's not a lady named Dorothy Sequin. It's Dot Sequin fabric.
You're just full of the jokes today. Yeah, Dot Sequin
I feel
fabric.
funny.
Okay, let's tell them what Dot Sequin fabric is, I think, before we get into why we're talking about it and everything.
It is a knit mesh. Okay, polyester knit mesh, and it also has a metallic fiber in that knit mesh that makes it kind of glittery looking.
Yep.
And then it has plastic dots that are metallic coated, glued on top of it.
That's right.
They probably call that a binding agent, but it's glue.
It's like mom's favorite. You've been talking about bonding and binding agents.
I know. Well, that's what they call them, and it's glue.
So they're glued on, basically.
Right.
Like a really permanent glue. I mean,
let's put it this way. Semi-permanent. I mean, they're not supposed to just fall off.
They're not sewn on.
Right.
Right.
Now, if you put heat to them, or you put maybe something like a solvent, like I would say like acetone or something, you're going to dissolve that glue. You're going to loosen that. You're going to loosen the bond of the binding agent.
So there is sequin fabric though, where it's like sewn on,
right? And previous to the 1990s, if we wanted to make a glittery type costume or a glittery type garment of some sort, most things a lot of times it was a chiffon where they would take and. There actually are machines that do this, that actually sew sequins onto chiffon, okay? And that's how you got your sequiny, glittery look, okay? There were other fabrics beside that, but that was probably the most popular if you were trying to make something that looked really, really glitzy, really reflected the light. It was, sequins sewn on to fabric.
We've shared a few of these videos, of the couture work where they're sewing, flowers on.
Oh, right.
They're doing the timbre, beadwork.
Oh, I know.
I would work there.
Well, right.
And just sew pretty things on all day.
Who wouldn't want to wear that?
Yeah, right. Okay, so Dot Sequin is this mesh, and we made some easy tees out of it.
We did. This is the most recent thing we made out of it.
Right. So most recently we made these easy tees. We did one in a different color for me, you, Sam, and Becca.
Right.
To kind of identify ourselves in an event.
Right.
And that was super fun. But you have a long history with Dot Sequin.
And one of the histories being, let's talk about this leads sort of to the somewhat durability of the sequins. The top you had was actually a piece of fabric from what we would call vintage show choir at the turn of the century. I believe that I had made a costume out of that in 2000.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was so I stored it nicely. It's been not in the light and in a cool, dry place. But all of the sequins were intact when we pulled that out.
Yeah, all of the sequin fabric. And I know it's kind of slightly varying ages, but most of it was around 2000 and before when you were doing all that show choir stuff.
Most of it was pretty early. Right. I was doing a great deal of costuming from the mid-90s to, the mid 2000, you graduated from high school in 2007.
Yep.
Yeah. So there was
now everyone knows how old I am.
That's right. She's so old. So there for that 10, 12, 15 years right in there. And I was doing a lot of dance costuming at that time for you also. So this is what's nice about this stuff is it's inexpensive. it's certainly durable enough for a costume that only has to last a few hours or a few days. Or, show choir, you have to have some durability because these go through a season.
Yeah.
And they're taken off and on and off and on. And,
thrown to the side of the stage.
Right.
And...
The costumes, you're actually undressing, sometimes taking, elements of costumes off and throwing them, in a pile someplace. So it does have some durability. This is not what I would particularly make. I don't think you're going to find a couture evening gown made of this that someone thinks is well, first of all, they won't be able to charge enough for it.
Right.
But it definitely has its place.
Yeah.
It's not the most comfortable fabric in the world either, but it's not terrible.
No, in fact, so I've worn a lot of dot sequin costumes.
Right.
And you have to line it generally.
Yes.
If you were to make someone a dress out of it,
Absolutely.
you'd be able to see through their legs.
Absolutely.
Because
well, it is. It's a knit mesh. It is not a heavy fabric. In fact, it's one of the things that allows the sequins to reflect is it has a flow to it.
Yeah.
It has a drape, which of course you want because you want the light reflecting and you want the sequins moving at all times.
And I remember you made me a gold dress when I was like 13 or something. Out of this dot sequin, and you lined it in that yellow like microfiber.
Yeah.
If anyone has seen the Facebook Live videos that I've done in the Self-Sewn Wardrobe group,
right.
Those curtains behind me were the lining of this dress. So, I mean, they're the same. They were off the same bolt.
Right.
But you lined it that microfiber, and I remember that not being uncomfortable.
Right.
Now, with our easy tees that we made them real fast, and we just
right.
turned the necklines over
right.
and cover stitch them.
Right.
And it didn't bug me except there was this one sequin that got stitched in such a way
that it poked you.
Yeah, it poked me. And
right.
somebody asked, I think it was, is that fabric uncomfortable to wear? And it was only that one place, but we could have just bound the neckline.
Right, if we would have bound the neck. Now, I had a problem on one sleeve a little bit, seemed a little bit itchy. But the thing is even the mesh is a little scratchy because it has that it's not just the sequin
right.
that sharper can bother you. Even the mesh because it has that metallic thread in it.
Right. And so the sequins can be uncomfortable,
right.
but it's not like automatically. There are things you can do.
Right. And this
and when
everybody has a different sensitivity level, of course, but. I would not make this for a child to wear as a garment.
No.
To have up against their skin forever and ever and ever. It would definitely be something that was a garment underneath it or it was lined or something like that.
It will help your child develop some language skills.
Yes.
Whenever I wore it and I picked up my baby, and she didn't really ever do this before. And so I know she must somehow know this word and hear us talk about it, but she went, chert. And she was touching my sequins and was really excited about seeing me in the sparkly shirt. But you know what I thought about for her? If I wanted to, maybe. Making her a little shirt and putting that on as a pocket.
Well, and we've used it with applique. We've used it as an applique. I have it appliqued on that one bag, and that's been on there forever.
The kids at that event,
right.
we had some dot sequin scraps
right,
there,
they were putting it on their shirts.
And they just appliqued it right on there. They cut stars and whatever. Oh, gosh. All the kids wanted to do hearts. And then we were appliquing them on. We were just doing it with a straight stitch, but I thought, the heart is the shape you use to teach people applique.
That's right.
And it's not super easy.
That's right. Because it has the inner corner and the outer curve and the obtuse angle and blah, blah, blah.
And all of that. Right. I think that maybe before we talk about care and how to sew on it, that we should break for a message break.
Okay. Let's do that. Hey, Mal.
Hey, Mom.
I heard you were easy.
Oh, no.
What does that mean?
No, it means what you really heard was, wow, Mallory, your easy tee looks so good on you.
Oh,
yes.
I should have known that it was something about something you made.
Like you said, you're getting into your golden years. Sometimes mishearing things. It happens.
No, you're
right?
the one that mishears things. I know this. You make lapel pins about it.
Okay, so I am currently wearing an Easy Tee, and I wear them all the time. The Easy Tee is a semi-fitted, short-sleeve T-shirt made out of a woven fabric, and you draft the Easy Tee to fit your measurements by taking the Easy Tee class.
Well, how do I take this class?
It's an online class that you can watch anytime on SewHere.com. To purchase the class, go to SewHere.com/EasyT. That's just EASYT.
Is this on my computer?
It's on your computer. It's on your phone. It's on your iPad. The class is divided up into short, easily consumable segments, some of which you may not ever need to watch ever again, but some of which you might want to revisit. So you have the ability to mark lessons as completed and also to star lessons so you can go back and revisit the ones that are most important to you.
And I can vouch, Mallory's Easy Tee is a lot easier than Mallory is.
Once again, go to SewHere.com/EasyT to begin your pattern drafting journey. Sewing out loud. Okay, and we're back.
Okay, so in order to use this, right, to make something out of it besides just hanging around your studio or your sewing room.
We made curtains out of it, right?
I don't know what we haven't made out of it,
That's
actually.
right.
I don't think I've ever made a seat cushion out of it, which is a very good thing.
Yeah.
Right. But let's talk about cutting.
Okay, yeah, let's start there.
Okay. I absolutely cannot stand to cut it with scissors.
Uh-huh.
Okay, you're cutting through those little, plastic disc. I think it's very difficult. It could probably do a job on some new scissors
Yeah.
and some good scissors. I probably use a special pair of scissors that I wasn't too worried about or something.
You would almost tell me.
I mean,
if
you're
I'm wrong.
cutting through plastic.
You would rather cut through some paper with your sewing scissors versus
absolutely
maybe some dot sequin.
Yeah.
So there's some perspective.
The way that I would just not use my best scissors. Now, how do I cut through it? I use a rotary cutter.
Amen.
I will tell you a story of a failing. So when I would make a lot of costumes, and I'm talking about a lot, like over 1,000 costumes a year, and when I say make, I made them all from designing them, drafting them, cutting out the fabric, and executing them, building them from the ground up. And I have a electric rotary cutter.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a piece of big equipment, like you would. Like a jigsaw, only it's a rotary cutter. But, it has a motor and it has a fan that cools it while you're using it, the whole thing. And I could cut through like 12 layers of satin.
Uh-huh.
Okay? The bad thing about that is if you cut wrong, you've cut wrong 12 times.
12 times, sure,
right?
sure.
But if you're making all these costumes, obviously it can be to a great advantage. You're not wearing your body out, cutting these things out.
Yeah.
And when I went to do the dot sequin, and I was only going to try 4 layers of dot sequin, and I was like, all of a sudden my cutter, I'm buzzing along. All of a sudden it's like, what was happening is that rotary cutter was so hot and it was generating heat. The sequins were melting off the binding agent. And so I've got like sequins on my blade and all that. So what I found out is I could cut 2 layers of dot sequin with a rotary cutter. And that was
a normal rotary cutter.
And that was all I could cut, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't use the electric one at all because it just generated just
Too
enough
much
heat
friction and...
to peel off that glue off that sequin.
And I think that I cut out the Easy Tees this time, the fronts, while I was cutting out.
Well, I know I cut out.
You cut out.
I think
yours,
I cut out 2 of them, and I did it with the rotary cutter.
And I did it with the rotary cutter
and
too.
they were doubled over.
And it was
Right.
just no problem. In fact, we made the back of the shirts out of like that thin
A soft
sweatshirt
right,
knit.
a soft sweatshirt
And
knit. Right.
Same level of difficulty.
Right. Well, and when I do cut it, I like to cut it on the wrong side so that I'm not cutting. I'm cutting through the back
Yeah.
instead of cutting through the little bumpy sequins
Those
on the front.
sequins are a little stabilized, sort
right.
of, because you're not
Just feels better to cut,
on the front of them.
from the back.
So we recommend cutting with a rotary cutter. We recommend not using an electric rotary cutter. But then a lot of questions we got were, how do you deal with it with your needle? Doesn't it gum up your needle?
And it does gum up your needle. What I have found is on the regular straight stitch sewing machine,
Mm-hmm.
it will eventually, I will get enough glue that it's gumming on that needle. And everyone that knows me and knows my sewing habits knows that I keep alcohol swabs, in a drawer close to me. Alcohol swabs like the doctor uses when he gives you an injection.
We just go to the doctor and
Right.
we just take them by the handful out of the drawer. No, I'm kidding.
You can buy them at Walmart, at Target, any pharmacy. Go in and say, where are your alcohol swabs or where are your alcohol wipes?
They're the little prepackaged
I think
wipes,
they're
right?
1 by 1 in size. And what's nice is you just rip them open and, it's that little wipe. And I just wipe down the shaft of my needle. I don't unthread my sewing machine.
Right.
Or anything. But you can visually see the binding agent building up on your needle.
Though, I was thinking about this. When sometimes I think people have heard things like dot sequin gums up your needle, right? But then I ask, what are you planning to do with dot sequin?
Right.
Are you planning to just make one pocket to put on a shirt?
Yeah.
Or like one easy tee with 4
Right.
seams? Like sewing through it for maybe a few feet
Probably
it
wasn't
doesn't
meant.
gum
No.
up your. It's not like immediately.
No, not at all.
You have a gummed up needle because
No.
I think sometimes people get scared away from certain fabrics because they hear that and like it is true, but it's not like you're not making 46
And this is not a
costumes.
gummy mess.
No.
What will happen is your needle will break. Or not your needle
Your
will break. Your
thread,
thread will
yeah.
break. It will get hung up.
Yeah,
Right.
I just think that sometimes people say something like, oh, cutting through paper or cutting through something will dull your rotary cutter. It's like, yeah, if you cut through like 16,000 sheets of paper.
Well, and if you
anything-
cut through 16 pieces of fabric, anything will dull your needle.
Right.
Anything will dull your scissors.
Yes. So
Yeah.
just be aware that if you're just going to make like one Halloween costume, if it doesn't have a ton of seams, it's not like you're going to like ruin your machine or something like that,
No.
What kind of needle would you use in the dot sequin?
Well, I used to use a size 70 denim.
Ooh.
Okay. So it was a tiny needle, but it was very sharp. And denim needles have like a coating on them that's similar to Teflon
Are they
or something.
a little like thicker? think
They're
they
sturdier
are.
somehow.
They're
I also
sturdier.
believe that they have a bigger groove in the front, and it lets that it lets the thread ride easier through a thicker.
Someone just let's get a little
Right.
off topic, but someone was just emailing and asking about the difference between like a
Right.
top stitch needle and a denim needle. I said the top stitch needle had a taller eye and for the
And it
thread
has
and
a
the
much
groove.
bigger groove. Right,
yes.
right. And all of this, I mean, I used to know everything about needles, and now I don't have to know anything because I almost know which one to reach for.
Right.
The other needle I like now that is relatively new to the industry is the Microtex needle.
Yep.
And let me tell you, everybody, if you're having problems piercing a fabric and you want it to be a small bore that you're making, a small hole in
Hole.
that needle, try the Microtex.
That same person who was asking me that, she
Right.
wrote me a pretty intensive needle email, and she said, "My mother was taught to use Microtex needles on everything except for knits." Like,
Wow.
and I was like, and so
Well, it wouldn't hurt.
And I was like, yeah, that's fine. I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah, it wouldn't hurt.
It wouldn't.
No,
Yeah, I was like,
no.
unless you need like a denim or
Right.
and I was like, sure, it's not.
I know people that used to piece quilts with 70 denim needles because they were sharp and they
Yeah.
were small.
Yeah,
And they would pierce forever, and they didn't have to stop. They stayed sharp.
right.
So,
And the
even
finish,
whatever the needles are used for, they're probably going to work, but they may work for something else, or you may find an alternate
Right.
use or something that
the
you
finish
like.
on those needles is important.
Right.
The chrome finish, or any kind of like nonstick
Well,
finish.
the other thing that's important
great.
here is that it is a high quality needle.
yeah, we like Schmetz.
So, right, a European needle is probably your best bet.
Yeah.
If you get the cheapest needle that you can find at, Walmart or Joann's or whatever, because I don't think you're going to find them at your sewing dealership. I'd be surprised if you are. Maybe you can. You can't find them at ours.
That's
Any
right.
needle you find at our shop is the best needle. Class
Right.
A is another brand
Class
that's
A is a nice
okay. Yes.
brand. Uh-huh.
But you want a high quality needle. Those needles are honed and not stamped, and we can go into that in a needle.
I think we already did.
cast. Oh, okay.
In a two-parter.
That's right. So,
so
obviously, now the other thing is, people were like, "But a knit? Can I use my serger?" Well, that's how we made our T-shirts.
Yep.
And I am here to testify under fabric oath that I have used it in my serger. I do not feel like it makes any more of a mess than any other fabric. I have never had to degum it or, worry about the binding agent.
mhm.
I've never had to use the alcohol on my serger needles or on my serger blade or anywhere on my serger. I think the serger is so much faster and pierces, so much quicker
Right.
that apparently that's just not a problem. I've never had it be a problem.
Yeah,
Now,
and we
now,
didn't-
not that it's not going to be on your machine or something. I don't
Right.
know, but I'm just telling you my experience
But if you have a serger that's a high-quality serger with the vertical needle
with
penetration.
high quality needles.
And just gonna...
Right.
We like the Baby Lock sergers, and if you think that makes us a snob, you can unsubscribe. That's fine. But we like the Baby Locks, and you had a Baby Lock Imagine serger for what, like 10 years?
It was 11 years.
And you didn't change the blade in
I
it.
got it like a week after they came out.
Yeah.
I never changed the blade in it. I never had to have it fixed or served, other than regular
Normal
oiling.
maintenance,
Right.
yeah.
I never had anything go wrong with
And you
that.
sewed on a lot of Dot Sequin.
Right.
Okay.
I sold that to a customer
Uh-huh.
when I guess this machine came out.
Evolve or
No, because I had Evolve and the Enlighten came out.
Mhm.
So I had a
You
not
had them
an
at the
Evolve,
same time.
not an
Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't Evolve.
It was
yeah.
an Evolve,
But
yeah.
I've always, since the Evolve came out, I've always had two sergers with
Right.
me. But anyway, it didn't have anything to do with mileage because, like I said, thousands of garments a year, many types of fabric. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, I did not sew over needles or pins or anything. I only sewed over fabric. I sold that to someone. They were so thrilled that I sold it to them. But they came back a year later and they upgraded to the Evolve, and we sold that to another customer. And as far as I know, she still has it.
Yeah, so
so
it's
it's
on
over 20 years old.
It's on its third owner.
It has never had a part replaced.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I did take good care of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's gotten a little bit discolored from the second person that had it because she had it sitting in a window. And that doesn't happen anymore
But,
because it's a different plastic that they use.
So we just will not apologize for advocating for this equipment that lasts so long.
No, it's really
Okay,
quality.
we'll get off of
Yeah.
our team.
Yeah.
We'll record another episode about that, but I've received
Right.
a few complaints
About
and
being
I'm
snobs.
not having it. Okay, so now how to launder Dot Sequin. Got any tips on that?
I do. You launder it like you would do fine lingerie. Say
Uh-huh.
your bra. You want it. I've actually put it in the washing machine, but I will put it in a lingerie bag, a knit. I don't want to say
Mesh.
a mesh
Mesh.
bag. Thank
Mesh.
you. In a mesh bag. It can go on warm, not hot.
Uh-huh.
Make sure it's only warm, like tepid water. That will work. And use a mild detergent of some sort. And I also do like the delicate
cycle.
or you can do this, in your sink.
Mhm.
Okay.
Sam did it in her sink. She's so good.
Did she? And I've laundered it with shampoo in my sink. I've actually used Disdain on the neck of this, and it did not remove the
Ooh.
sequins, but it was just so dirty. I had to do something,
Uh-huh.
and I'm sure the Disdain got on there a little bit, but it cleaned it off. So anyway, here's the issue: drying. If you dry it and in your dryer, the sequins will unbind.
And you'll have a very sparkly lint filter, right?
That's right. This is a shout out to my friend Bob Bohan.
Yep.
Never know where he is. Maybe he's on Broadway today. I don't know.
You never know.
Yeah. Anyway, he said, we didn't get those red sparkly dresses back from the cleaners. And I was like, oh no. And I said, okay, well, let me go look for them because I was pretty sure I knew what happened.
Yeah.
And I went back into the costume closet where he had hung all the stuff that came back from the cleaners because this was a high school choir, and one of the, I think it was Robertson's Cleaners here in Columbia, said they would clean everything for free.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
And they did.
and they kept all the dots.
Yeah. So they came back not quite as sparkly.
Right. I guess, and that was it was a relatively new fabric at that time.
Sure.
Okay. I think the year before we'd actually used the sewn-on sequins.
Uh-huh.
Okay, fabric. And they were still really nice, and they were a little bit sparkly because they still had the knit mesh over the top of them, with the little bit of the lurex thread in them. But all the dots were gone. And I brought them out and I said, Bob, these are the red dresses.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, what happened? I go, they just melt off. I said, they didn't know, so, and, chemically they may have come off too. I don't know. But
Sure,
if they
something
used any
happened.
heat, they came off.
Something.
I should have taken those home. Actually, he never sent in anything to be laundered after that without my approval. But I would have taken them home and thrown them all like in the bathtub or something.
Yeah.
With some mild soap in them, and they would have been clean enough.
Yeah.
And through the entire season, I was squirting them with alcohol in the armpits.
Right.
And they were fine.
The vodka and the disdain have made appearances in this podcast.
That's right. They
If
did.
you don't know what we're talking about, go back and search out that episode, Vodka and Disdain, and you can get your own So Here FM spray bottles if you wish.
So we've talked just about everything, I think.
I think so too.
The one thing that's sort of an extra that maybe not everyone who's worked with this fabric knows about. I have a friend, Susan Pettigrew, who was the queen of my costume shop. She was the manager of a costume shop I worked in.
With the queen manager, whatever.
Yeah,
whatever.
she was amazing. We did this thing where we would try and teach each other one thing a day, and sometimes it was the smallest thing, but it was really cool. But she got me into dyeing. Okay.
Oh yeah. What am I thinking?
Right.
Yeah. Sorry.
And I don't mean like dying like I'm going to be dead. I mean, I can probably do that without instruction. But dyeing clothes, dyeing costumes, what you can do with dye. Oh, my God. She showed me how to put it in, spray bottles, all this different stuff to do different effects. But she also told me not to be afraid, especially, So I had a bolt of gold dot sequin. And it was gold dots, and it was on a very light yellow mesh. And it looks very gold, very bright gold, brassy almost.
Right.
And for some reason, I had like almost a half a bolt left after I'd gone through bolts and bolts and bolts of all different colors. But I did have some of this gold left, and I had to make some other costumes for a play, a musical. And I thought, I can't put everybody in the same gold. And I needed like these little showgirl costumes. So I tried to dye this, and it worked.
Yeah.
And it worked with regular RIT dye, that
Yeah.
you can get it at your drugstore or Joann's or wherever you get it from. And what it did is it did not dye the sequins, which can be done too.
Right.
But these sequins are already coated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it dyed the background.
Right.
So I wound up with black fabric with gold sequins. I wound up with orange fabric with gold sequins. I wound up with
Purple. The
a
purple's so
purple, a
pretty.
lilac
Yeah.
with dot sequins. Now, I would never try to match the color. What I got was what I got.
Right, and you got these subtle variations,
Right.
and they sort of coordinated, which can be really pleasing on stage.
Right. And and actually we had these on all together at a Stitcher social, and Sam's was dyed and Becca's was dyed. And I said, these two are from the same bolt, and people could hardly believe it.
And I had a little
because they appear to be so a different color.
I had a little scrap of the original fabric too, so that was neat.
But I did not put them in the dryer after I dyed
No,
it.
you didn't. But I'll post pictures of that because I got pictures of those dyed things, and we'll do a little blog post about that. I think I can keep that promise. So.
I don't know why, but I feel like I'm getting hoarse. Maybe it's all the sequins I'm inhaling. The last thing I really want to talk about is because people ask this. Oh, well, did the sequins come off? They do.
Uh-huh.
And you know what? The sewn ones come off too.
Yeah.
Sequins come off. Any fabric with sequins has to be treated delicately and with respect. So yeah, they will kind of come off, and you'll find them places and
Like in your underwear.
Yeah, in your underwear, in your garden, in your shower floor.
So
they're there.
If you've ever worked with Dot Sequin, tell us. Or if you have any other questions about weirdo fabrics,
But we're actually
ask us.
recording. I don't know when this is going to be played, but we're about 2 weeks out before Halloween here,
That's true.
and it's one of the favorites for making that princess dress. That's for sure.
Yep. It just really gets across the sparkleness. Okay, well, let us know if you have any other questions about odd fabrics. You can get a hold of me at Mallory@sewhere.com, and we are Zede's Sewing Studio on Instagram.
So long and so happy.
Thanks for listening to Sewing Out Loud. For even more expert sewing advice, visit sewhere.com.